for contestant number 1, Jennette Gator. Out of the shadows, Jennette Gator.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, observe this beautiful flower arrangement. These beautiful blooms did not begin their lives in this glorious splendor. They started out as tiny, minuscule seeds. As they absorbed sunlight, water, and nutrition, they became these beautiful carnations that smell like heaven on earth. People are much like these beautiful blooms. They also need sunlight, water, and nutrition in order to thrive. As we begin, imagine yourself in a deep, dark cave where the warm, delightful sunlight never kisses your face, or walking through a scorching desert with no water, or that luscious sweet apple that is just beyond your reach when you are very hungry. As you think on these images and how they make you feel, I would like to share with you my journey out of the shadows. My seed was planted in 1958 and got off to a very rocky start. My mother struggled with mental illness my entire life and tried to kill herself when I was 8. As I sat outside that bathroom door in a crying puddle, begging her to come out, unknowingly, I sold my soul to my mother. My life became about securing hers, and I began a 49-year habit of mother tending. Getting sunlight at school and being plunged into darkness around my mother, my seed was seriously confused. Because of this, at 18, I flew off to college to escape this confusing environment. There, I met some awesome spiritual mentors. I began to get some consistent sunlight and water, and amazingly, I began to grow. I had a stem and a few leaves, and I was on my way to blooming. I began to find my own passions. I allowed myself to be more visible, and I committed my life to God. I learned that people need consistent watering from their tribe in order to grow and bloom. My spiritual mentors were this for me. I began to experience true joy for the first time since I was 8. One of my spiritual mentors eventually became my husband. He was a larger-than-life kind of guy. With his personality and my previous history with my mother, it was cushy and comfortable for me to choose to live his life, to fit in and to take up residence in those shadows once more. As a result, my joy and my power went missing in action. There were moments, however, in my 37-and-a-half-year marriage that, like raising and homeschooling my 9 children and being involved heavily in my husband's political career, that kept my plant from just withering away. But it never bloomed because any energy needed for blooming was always given away to support others. Can anyone see a pattern here? Strangely enough, I did not. As life seasons changed, so did the people around me. In 2015, my mother passed away, and with her, my habit of mother tending. In 2018, my youngest child moved out of the house, and my husband passed away in September of that same year. I had no more lives to support. I was left with me, just me. This was scary, and I kept very busy to avoid my fears. But when COVID hit, I was forced to stop. God began to show me this lifelong pattern and politely asked me if I'd like to continue. My answer was no. I desperately wanted to bloom. As I look back and reflect on my 54-year journey, these are some of my revelations. We need to step in to that warm, delightful sunlight and allow ourselves to be seen. Being invisible, it's overrated. We need our tribe to water us and help us sort out our tangled webs. And lastly, we need to choose to nourish ourselves. For years, I waited for others to nourish me, and they seldom did. I learned I needed to do that for myself. I now make choices daily to step in to that warm, delightful sunlight and find my passions and my dreams. I am beginning to bloom and look like this beautiful bouquet. Choose to bloom now. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.